Welcome to this deep dive into the world of absurdism. Life often confronts us with questions that seem to have no clear answers. Why are we here? What is the purpose of life? If you've ever found yourself grappling with these questions and feeling the weight of the world's apparent indifference, you are not alone. In fact, you've encountered the core idea behind a philosophy known as absurdism. In today's discussion, we'll explore what absurdism is, its origins, how it relates to other philosophical movements like existentialism, and, most importantly, how we can live with the absurdity of existence. Section 1. What is absurdism? Absurdism is a philosophical perspective that emerges from the human tendency to seek meaning in life and the universe's apparent refusal to offer any. The term absurd refers to the conflict between our search for purpose and the silent, indifferent world that seems to provide none. At its core, absurdism suggests that the human condition is defined by this tension. We are constantly seeking meaning, direction, and purpose. We want to believe that our lives are significant, that there is a reason behind our existence. However, the universe is vast, complex, and, ultimately, indifferent to our needs, desires, and sufferings. This leads to a profound sense of disorientation and confusion, what we might call the absurd. Absurdism, then, is not just about the acknowledgement of this conflict, but about how we respond to it. Do we continue to search for meaning despite its elusiveness? Do we create our own meaning? Or do we resign ourselves to the absurdity of it all? Section 2. The origins of absurdism. To understand absurdism, we must first consider its roots, particularly in the works of the Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard and the French philosopher Albert Camus. Søren Kierkegaard, often called the father of existentialism, was one of the first to explore the absurd. Kierkegaard's focus was on the individual's experience and how they relate to the universe. He described the absurd as the conflict between the human desire for rational understanding and the realization that some aspects of existence are beyond comprehension. For Kierkegaard, the absurd is tied closely to the concept of faith, a leap into the unknown, embracing the paradoxes of existence. However, it was Albert Camus who brought absurdism into the spotlight. In his 1942 essay, The Myth of Sisyphus, Camus explores the absurdity of life and how we might respond to it. He begins with the assertion that there is only one truly serious philosophical question: whether or not to commit suicide. This question arises from the recognition of the absurd, the realization that life may be inherently meaningless. Camus uses the Greek myth of Sisyphus to illustrate his point. In the myth, Sisyphus is condemned by the gods to roll a boulder up a hill for eternity, only for it to roll back down each time he reaches the top. Camus sees Sisyphus as the ultimate symbol of the human condition, endlessly toiling, aware of the futility of his efforts, yet continuing nonetheless. Camus famously concludes that one must imagine Sisyphus happy, suggesting that even in the face of absurdity, we can find a way to live meaningfully. Section 3. Absurdism versus Existentialism and Nihilism. It's important to distinguish absurdism from two closely related philosophical movements: existentialism and nihilism. Existentialism, like absurdism, acknowledges the absence of inherent meaning in the universe. Existentialists like Jean-Paul Sartre argue that because life has no preordained purpose, it is up to each individual to create their own meaning. This process of self-creation is central to existentialist thought, emphasizing personal freedom, choice, and responsibility. Nihilism, on the other hand, goes a step further by asserting that life is not only meaningless but also that any attempt to find or create meaning is futile. Nihilists often reject moral principles, viewing them as human constructs with no real foundation. Absurdism occupies a unique space between these two philosophies. Like nihilism, absurdism recognizes that life is inherently meaningless. However, unlike nihilism, absurdism does not view this realization as a cause for despair. And while absurdism agrees with existentialism that individuals can create their own meaning, it doesn't insist that doing so is necessary or even entirely possible. Instead, absurdism suggests a different approach: to live fully aware of life's absurdity and to embrace it. Rather than succumbing to despair or attempting to force meaning where there may be none, the absurdist learns to live with the tension and contradiction. In this way, absurdism is both a recognition of life's inherent chaos and a call to live in spite of it. Section 4. Living with the absurd. The three responses. Camus outlines three possible responses to the absurdity of existence. Suicide. The first and most extreme response is suicide. Camus rejects this option because he sees it as an escape from the problem rather than a solution. Ending one's life is an admission that the absurd is too much to bear, that life is not worth living without meaning. For Camus, this is not an acceptable answer to the absurd. Philosophical suicide. The second response is what Camus calls philosophical suicide, which involves embracing religious or other ideological beliefs that impose an artificial sense of meaning or order onto the universe. Camus critiques this approach because it denies the reality of the absurd. By adopting a belief system that promises meaning, one avoids confronting the true nature of existence. Acceptance. The third response, and the one Camus advocates, is acceptance. This means acknowledging the absurdity of life and choosing to live in defiance of it. Instead of seeking meaning, the absurd individual finds freedom in the realization that there is no preordained purpose. This freedom allows them to live fully, embracing life's experiences without the need for ultimate answers. Camus describes this attitude as a form of revolt. The absurdist does not accept easy answers or give in to despair. Instead, they live with the absurdity, finding joy and meaning in the act of living itself. Section 5. The freedom of the absurd. One of the most liberating aspects of absurdism is the freedom it offers. If life has no inherent meaning, then we are free to create our own experiences and live in a way that is true to ourselves. This freedom can be both exhilarating and terrifying. On the one hand, it removes the pressure to conform to societal expectations or pursue a predetermined path. There is no correct way to live in an absurd world. On the other hand, this freedom can also lead to a sense of disorientation. Without a clear purpose or direction, it's easy to feel lost. However, Camus suggests that this freedom is precisely what gives life its richness. When we accept the absurdity of existence, we can approach life with a sense of playfulness and curiosity. We can engage in activities for their own sake, not because they bring us closer to some ultimate goal. We can love, create, and explore without the burden of needing everything to make sense. This is not to say that absurdism encourages a life of hedonism or irresponsibility. Rather, it promotes a mindful and deliberate approach to living, where we fully engage with the present moment, recognizing the value in our experiences, even if they lack a grander purpose. Section 6. Absurdism in art and literature. Absurdism has had a significant impact on art and literature, particularly in the 20th century. The movement known as theatre of the absurd emerged as a direct response to the ideas of absurdism. Playwrights like Samuel Beckett, Eugene Ionesco, and Jean Genet explored themes of meaninglessness, existential despair, and the absurdity of human existence in their works. Perhaps the most famous example is Beckett's play, Waiting for Godot. The play features two characters, Vladimir and Estragon, who wait endlessly for someone named Godot, who never arrives. The dialogue is circular and often nonsensical, reflecting the characters' futile attempts to find meaning in their situation. Waiting for Godot is often seen as a perfect representation of the absurd. The characters are trapped in a meaningless existence, yet they continue to wait, hoping for something that may never come. In literature, absurdism is also evident in the works of Franz Kafka, particularly in his novel, The Trial, where the protagonist, Joseph K., is arrested and prosecuted by a distant, inaccessible authority, all without ever being told what crime he is accused of. Kafka's work explores the alienation and confusion inherent in modern life, themes that resonate strongly with absurdist thought. These artistic expressions of absurdism provide a unique lens through which we can explore and understand the philosophy. They highlight the absurdity of human existence while also suggesting that there is value in continuing to live, to create, and to experience, even in the face of meaninglessness. Section 7. Absurdism and modern life. In today's world, absurdism remains highly relevant. We live in a time of rapid technological change, social upheaval, and increasing uncertainty. Many people find themselves questioning the purpose of their lives, struggling to find meaning in a world that often seems chaotic and unpredictable. Absurdism offers a way to navigate these challenges. By accepting that life may be inherently meaningless, we can free ourselves from the pressure to find answers that may not exist. This doesn't mean giving up on life or becoming apathetic. Instead, it means embracing life's experiences fully, finding joy and fulfillment in the moment, and recognizing that the search for meaning is, in itself, a meaningful endeavor. In the workplace, for example, many people experience a sense of alienation or burnout. Absurdism can provide a framework for understanding these feelings and coping with them. By acknowledging the absurdity of our circumstances, we can approach work with a new perspective, one that emphasizes personal satisfaction and well-being over societal expectations or external validation. In relationships, absurdism encourages us to focus on the connections we build with others, rather than trying to find some ultimate meaning in our interactions. By appreciating the absurdity of love and friendship, we can enjoy these experiences for what they are, without the need for them to conform to some idealized notion of what they should be. Absurdism also has implications for how we engage with politics and social issues. In a world where many people feel powerless to affect change, absurdism reminds us that our actions can still have value, even if they don't lead to grand, transformative outcomes. The absurdist approach to activism emphasizes small, meaningful actions that improve our immediate environment and the lives of those around us. Section 8. Conclusion. Embracing the absurd. But as we conclude this exploration of absurdism, it's important to remember that this philosophy is not about despair or nihilism. Instead, it's about confronting the reality of life's absurdity and choosing to live fully in spite of it. Albert Camus wrote that, "The struggle itself towards the heights is enough to fill a man's heart." This is the essence of absurdism. The recognition that life is a constant struggle, a series of challenges and contradictions, but that there is value in the struggle itself. In embracing the absurd, we free ourselves from the need for definitive answers and ultimate purposes. We learn to live with uncertainty, to find meaning in the experiences of life, and to appreciate the richness and complexity of our existence. So, the next time you find yourself questioning the meaning of life or feeling overwhelmed by the chaos of the world, remember the words of Camus and Sisyphus. Life may be absurd, but it is also beautiful, complex, and worth living. The choice is ours, to despair or to embrace the absurd and live fully, in the here and now. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the world of absurdism. If you found this discussion thought-provoking, please like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into philosophy and the human experience. And remember, as Camus suggests, in the face of the absurd, we must imagine Sisyphus happy.